Rosanna, you're back on Singletrack. I'm super excited, and I have to immediately start with what I see on screen, what people can't see, obviously, is you're still wearing your CCC bracelet.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I do.
So I have my OCC bracelet, but I literally lasted 3 days until after the race, and it was bugging me on my wrist. I was like, it's the little wooden bead.
Yeah.
I was like, I could not handle it. I had to cut it off. You still have it on.
Yes, I don't know when I will cut it, but I think probably when I go to Bhutan. But now it's a good memory still.
I mean, that is the other thing, right? I mean, you had an absolute incredible race. It's certainly worth it keeping on for a little while longer.
Yes.
So, congratulations, third place CCC. When we talked last, you won Lavaredo. I don't know. Should we start by asking, when you'd won Lavaredo and you were preparing for CCC, did you have a podium in mind? Do you think that would be in the cards?
No. I think I was hoping for a strong race, but actually I was just hoping to do a better time than on 2022, but I thought that it's gonna be a totally different podium than what it was. I thought it's gonna be more like surprises, and so I was super happy that for me it was the third place.
It was for me incredible, and we're talking about your race and not about me, but it was incredible for me because it was the first time for me in Chamonix, and I was at the finish line when you came in. And seeing somebody who I know, I mean, we don't know each other other than, conversations, but seeing somebody I know finish in third place was an absolute incredible experience. It was fantastic. I was standing behind and people were going crazy, and I was trying to make sure that I still can see through all the crowds and cameras and everything. I mean, fantastic. You said that you'd expected a different podium altogether. Big. Did you just think more surprises? I don't know, because um tell me a little bit. How did you sort of get into this?
Yeah, I mean, whenever I found out that Tony McCann signed up, I was like, if she has an okay day, she will be first. But then I thought that the women's field was super strong, and I was like, it's just going to be interesting who takes second and third. And actually, I was hoping I was planning to be in the top 10 if I have a good day. Then I was hoping to do like the top five again, because I just figured the women's field is just more stacked and stronger. But then whenever I was in third place, I kind of felt like I could hang on to it.
I mean, these races are interesting because on one side, me as backup packer, I still get to experience and actually run the event. And so I bring in sort of a different perspective than if I would just be media, if you will, right? But at the same time, they are less, or there are more surprises still in the cards than with other professional sports, because the distance is just so long. There's so many variables, right? You can't really, I mean, if you look at all three events, I mean, yeah, some of the top runners where, as you say, Tony McCann, we expected her to do well, right? But at the same time, some of the other top runners also didn't even make it halfway, right? I mean, there's so much that happens that we don't sort of can't really foresee. So it's always a big surprise who ends up sort of taking it. And then when you then actually experience it at runner, it's a completely different story too, right? Because you throughout the race have to sort of figure out how everyone else is doing and how you to position yourself.
Yes, exactly. And I think that's what we often forget, especially in the elites field, that no matter how hard we trained or what ITRA points we have, we all still have to run 100 kilometers and we still have to finish. And it always feels like, yeah, you can run at that pace, and at the aid stations, you just take that and that for food. But still, it's like 12 hours where you just have to fight and give it your best. And I think that's why it's then no surprise that the finish can look a lot more unexpected than we think in the beginning, because we're also not machines. And I think that's some, like, a lot of times it's forgotten, because also when there is like the elite presentation 2 days before the race, it's like, yeah, that could be the ranking if everyone has a perfect day, but on 100 kilometers, you never have a perfect day. So
Mhm.
how are you going to cope with the heat? How are you going to cope with mental down? Like, there's so many things that can happen. And so, yeah, that's, I think, why also my finish line was so emotional, because of course I was planning to run well, but you don't know what happens. And then if it, like, you fulfill like one of your dreams, it's a huge relief. And yeah.
It is you I think you encapsulated really well sort of what I was trying to say, very long-winded, right? The media sort of tries to tell these stories because we've had a lot of interviews with that person, or because that person has been historically doing well. Therefore, that must be how this whole thing plays out. But as you say, we are not machines, right? You have to sort of execute, and you can program it. And 100 kilometers is a really long time. A lot of things happen during this. And yeah, to your point, nobody's having a perfect day. There are moments where you have to adjust and where you have to problem solve. And yeah, sometimes things go sideways. Well, let's take us through your race. So, give me quickly a very practical answer. How did you stay in Courmayeur the night before, or did you take a shuttle over, or how did you get to the starting line?
I went with a shuttle in the morning because I feel like the start at 9 is quite late. So
Mhm.
even when driving there through the tunnel, you still have time to like go wake up to an okay time and then have breakfast and then just drive there. And I just brought coffee and a little bit second breakfast in the car.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, that's essentially what I did too for OCC, and I had the same thinking, right? That like an 8:15 start was comfortable, that I didn't feel like, and I don't know, how long is the drive from Chamonix to Courmayeur? It's shorter than to Orsières, right? Because
Yeah,
Orsières is like an hour and a half almost, right?
exactly. Courmayeur is much shorter, but it depends so much on the traffic. So usually I think it's like 40 minutes, if that. But with the traffic, it can be longer. So I think we planned 1 hour 15 and
Okay.
it took us an hour. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, fantastic. Okay. This is, I mean, as I said, I mean, I experienced Chamonix for the first time, and I'm completely blown away and enchanted by this whole experience. But there are many things that I didn't experience. And having followed it online now for several years, I realized that when you were actually there, it's madness, and it's so hard to try to catch up with people, and you're missing different things. How was it for you in the lead up to it? I was trying to connect with Hannes, and he was so busy, and he was then also trying to remove himself from the busyness in order to prepare himself for the race. Did you have a lot of sponsor obligations? How did you fit all of sort of your professional requirements into your life, and as an athlete who needs to also prepare themselves for a big day on the trails?
Yeah, it is a super busy week, and you have like those sponsor meetings and sponsor lunch and sponsor dinners, and then trying to plan your own race in between and try to meet with your support crew. And then there's like I had two TV films or like TV teams filming me, so it was super busy, but I think I'm very proud of the way I handled it because I planned it really well and then I just embraced it. I was just like, I don't have any big training. I'm just gonna have a nice breakfast with my team. I'm gonna have a nice sponsor lunch. And whenever I felt like it's a little bit too much, I just told them like it's like I have like what, half an hour more or not. And that worked really, really well. And I'm in general not a person that gets stressed super easily as long as I have my own space. And that's if it's just like my room, I can go back to for like half an hour. So I think I was not stressed when I was waking up for the race day. And I think with all the meetings and sponsor obligations, I was still preparing myself quite well.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, this is it's always stressful to sort of prepare for a race for yourself and making sure, especially with required gear changes and all of this stuff, right? But then having these like sponsor obligations on top of it, and other media, whatever, it can get crazy. I think I came into Trient doing OCC, and around, yeah, I think it was around Trient, there was somebody being filmed for compressed sport, and she did not have a great race. Her look on her face, and they had the cameras in her face, and I'm like, come on, don't you see what's going on here? Her race is not going well. Do you need to have the camera right in her face? So there is then this next level where you had mentioned TV. Did you have specific film crews other than the official UTMB folks who were filming you on the trails as well? Or was it
Yeah.
just UTMB live stuff?
With UTMB Live, it was actually then three because it was UTMB Live. Then from my nutrition sponsor, NEC, they did a coverage on how important support is in a UTMB race. So they covered me and my brother at the aid stations and before and after the race. And then there was a German TV channel, Arte. They are doing a whole documentary about how humans and their genes adapt to intensive training and endurance sports. So they were also following me from start to finish. But I briefed them very well before, so they kind of just followed along. And to your point that they are kind of always putting the camera in your face, I understand what you mean, but it was really interesting because after the race, with one of the film teams, I did a race recap in Courmayeur at the start line with like a nice background. And afterwards, we went for breakfast, and it was really, really cool because they also explained to me how it is for them, like because when they're already at my brother and they know it's the aid station and I'm coming in 30 minutes, they can see build up the tension, and then they try to not bother, but of course they want to film because they want to like share the emotions later, and then they see me coming in maybe stressed or maybe totally focused, so they want to also not bother but still like catch the emotions. And I think that was really interesting to get to see the other side, and also what they told me then how my brother, my support felt before, because I never see that. I just arrived there and everything is perfect. I don't see the nervousness for him or like the stress in preparation.
Yeah. Do you have sort of an outline where you sort of do you have a safe word? Do you sort of have sort of a moment where you feel like um if things go sideways, I can tell the cameras to go fuck off, more or less?
I think I just ignore them, like not in a bad way, but I like at the aid stations I didn't even see them. Like
Oh, good.
afterwards, when I seen like then some of my family filming how many cameras were there, I was like, oh, that's crazy. But that's the good thing about having my brother as support. I mean, we know each other so well, so I also don't see any other athletes really in the aid stations. It's like focus on my brother, and I do whatever he tells me, and that's like my only focus. And I think I'm quite good at it, and at that, and the rest I just zoom out.
Yeah. This is actually a good point, right? That sort of focus, that you have someone that you can fully trust and rely on, which allows you sort of to have the tunnel vision in a positive way, where you allow yourself to block out other all of the other sort of noise and stuff that is there, right?
I think that also helped me a lot because when we were at the second supported aid station in the end, um, the fourth girl and I were super close. So we entered the aid stations at the same time. But I think that was super helpful again that I had my tunnel vision because I didn't check what she was doing. I didn't know when she left. I was so focused on my getting my nutrition, getting my backpack set up again. And then everyone after the race told me it was so funny to see because I was so relaxed and taking my time. And the girl on fourth position was super stressed because she knew I was so close. So she actually left earlier, but she didn't like, or to me, it seemed like she didn't take enough time for her nutrition. So she left the aid station before me, but I caught her like 800 meters later because I refueled. And I think I didn't, I just focused on myself. And sometimes it sounds like, in the race, I don't care about anybody but myself. That sounds so, self-centric, but I think it's very helpful to do a good race.
It is interesting I wouldn't, yeah, I hear what you're saying, but especially in a race that is so big, that has so many runners and has so much noise, I think you have to sort of develop this focusing on you and your own race. This was the first time I've sort of experienced a race with that many runners. And I mean, when you race here in the US, you often like race for hours by yourself. And when
Mm.
you then see another runner on the trail, right, it feels the right thing to do to start a conversation, right? To sort of like, hey, where you at? Let's, maybe we even run together for 20 minutes in order to just get out of our own heads, right? But yeah, I mean, at OCC, I don't think I needed course markings at all because I always had a runner right in front of me. I
Yes.
always knew exactly, I always was around other people. And so you then really need to get into a different headspace, which was something new for me. I had never experienced that before, right? So, about your race, tell us a little bit, like what part and what, where were the low points? Where were the high points? Where were you feeling like, you can attack? Give us a little bit of sort of a breakdown.
Yes. So, well, in short summary, I had one big low and two highs. And looking back, I think maybe I needed the low to have the highs. So
Nice.
that's in very short and in more detail. From the start, like the first 20 kilometers, everything went perfectly according to plan. Of course, there were still a lot of runners around me, but my heart rate was great. My legs felt great. And I kind of caught myself thinking, wow, this is gonna be good. And then at the same time being like, it's very early, so maybe you can't say that yet. But I was in a very optimistic mindset the first 2 or 3 hours, and then there's a long downhill, and you reach like kilometer 37 to 40, and until today I still don't know what happened, but something between 37 and 40 was off. I felt great, and then I felt my worst. And I
Mhm.
don't know if it was the heat or what was going on. At the aid station, I suddenly was super dizzy. I couldn't grab my flask back from the ladies who filled up the water. I just missed it when trying to catch it. And then they were looking at me, and I was trying to grab it like 3 or 4 times until I got it. And I was searching for my gels, and I should still have like some of them in my backpack. And in my mind, or still in my memory, they were gone. So I was kind of panicking a little bit and put a lot of stuff from the aid station in my backpack. And I packed mostly chocolate, which was not smart at all because it was a super hot day. So immediately when I left the aid stations, the chocolate melted, and I was like, this is off. I need to stop. I don't know where I'm at. I don't know what I'm doing. But I still did all the thinking while at least still moving. I wasn't like checking my watch. I wasn't checking my pace, but I was still like running a little bit. And I don't know, I grabbed my backpack again, and there was all this melted chocolate, but then there were the shells again. So I was like, what is going on? They were gone, and now they're back. So,
Oh man.
and I felt really like everything hit me. I was like, why did I think I can run 100 kilometers? I'm just not strong enough. I'm not gonna make it, and Chamonix is not gonna see me. Why did I think I'm a strong runner? Like really bad mindset. And then I don't know what happened again. I was just like trying to tell myself it's okay. I don't have to do anything but keep moving. I don't have to do a heart rate. I don't have to do a pace. I totally ignored my watch, and I just kept on running. And then I felt better because I ate some of the gels. So maybe energy got back, or I don't know. And then it was really interesting because I've seen some of the men's dropping out,
Mhm.
and they like 2 or 3 I checked if they're okay, and they were so yeah, so supportive, and like, yeah, it's fine, they're dropping out, but I don't have to worry about them, and I should do my race. And then I was like, I'm still racing, I'm not dropping, I'm like still in a different setting than they are, so I'll just keep going. And then I don't know how, like 8, 9, 10 kilometers passed, but suddenly my older brother was there, because my younger brother was crewing me, and my older brother was in the track. He was so excited to see me, and he told me that like the La Folie, and not La Folie, Champillac, the next aid station is super close, and I'm going to see my younger brother in like 5 minutes. And then I kind of told him, I was like, I was feeling so shitty at kilometer 40. And he just went in and cut off and was like, yeah, great, but now you're fine again. So keep going. And then I was like, he's actually right. I'm moving. I'm still fine. And I mean, now we're at like 55. So I managed. And then I just decided I'm not going to tell my support crew because I'm fine now. I'm just going to go in there and I'm going to eat. And then it was like a switch took over my mind. And from that point onward, I had some lows in my physical state, but my mental state was so well. I was so sure I'm going to reach Chamonix, and no matter what. And I think that helped me then to do such a strong finish, because also then in Trient I felt really strong, but Trient was when me and the fourth lady were so close. But I such a big belief in myself that I'm gonna run away, and then I did on the climb. And then after the next downhill, my older brother was again on the track and told me that I already created a gap of 7 minutes. So I was like, okay, this is going well. But then in Vallocines at the last aid station, I felt like super sick in my stomach, but it didn't bother me because I was like, I thought I'm going to drop out at 40, so I'm going to finish. And with that mindset, also the sickness went away in like, I don't know, 20 minutes. And then I was just pushing really, really hard on the last uphill. And the last downhill then again was funny because I was still feeling okay. Of course, you're super tired and you just want to reach the finish line. But like that boost that from dropping out or like thinking to drop out to being in third position and being able to maybe finish on third position gave me such a boost that on the last downhill, I kind of cheered for myself, like speaking out loudly to just not fall and just run for my life to make it to the finish. And I was just going wild. And I think that's why my finish line was so emotional, because once then I seen the arch, like everything came back. I was like, how did I like lose my shells in my mind, but then find them again and thought of dropping, and now I'm in third and I made it. And it was so, for me, it was so huge.
This was the absolute best answer to a question that I always struggle with because I'm not an elite runner, and I hear elite runners being interviewed in podcasts, and sometimes folks have a like really smart way of asking about how the race went, and I feel like I never really know how to approach that question. And you took my sort of odd question about like how did your race go, and you explained it in such an awesome way, summarizing the entire sort of emotional life that you've gone through and physical, because I think every runner experiences that. And you had mentioned we're not machines, right? To see that somebody comes in third has to sort of ends up going through sort of similar feelings and struggles and has to adapt and makes dumb mistakes with melting chocolate in your vest,
Yeah.
right? You're not a machine. You're not completely like everything is set up, right? Because I mean, that's how we sort of are as humans, and we are perhaps trying to optimize that. But even if we do, things go sideways, and then it's our mindset that lets us keep going. And sometimes it's just a predator on the side of the trail who tells you, that you're looking great. Let's keep going.
Yeah.
I love this. That was amazing. It was incredible summary. So you make it in, and we're recording this already, like a couple weeks past, so it is sort of a little bit fairer to talk about it. Sometimes you get these post-race interviews and people ask, so what's next, and how how you're sort of processing this all. We've had some time to process it. You come into the finish, these next like 24 hour, 48 hours sort of, um how does it feel, right? How do you sort of come down from this crazy experience? I mean, in some respects, it wasn't an outlier. You knew you could do this, but still, so how do you sort of go into these next few hours and afterwards?
I think you don't calm down, or I didn't. I think the first time I really calmed down was on Monday when I was back home, because it's so crazy. Like you arrive at the finish, then there are like so many friends and family. Then there's the anti-doping. Then you're super tired, but you kind of want to celebrate. Then you can't sleep. Then the next morning there's like press interviews, and then there's like prize ceremony, and then there's UTMB finish, and so it's so crazy. And especially as you said, like finishing on the podium, it was going so wild. Like in the bubble of trail running, I got so many mails and interviews, and I was just like, I didn't have time to like realize what happened because I was just functioning.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
then now, as you say, a few weeks later, I'm realizing what happened, and I'm still sometimes when I watch like videos of my finish line, I'm like, wow, it's so cool. But it takes some days.
Yeah. Yeah. I got that sense when you walked away from the arch, and I watched you, and I thought maybe I can quickly say hi, but you were so in the zone and people were so around you. I'm like, I'm gonna leave you. I'm gonna leave you in your bubble and let you sort of like, just as you say, function and go through these various steps. That's incredible. So we got to talk about the golden ticket, because was that something that you were thinking about, or was that an additional surprise? I mean, you knew it was in the cards. Did you think that would be
No, I
possible?
didn't. I did. Maybe that sounds bad as an elite runner now, but I didn't know that you get a golden ticket. And
Amazing.
it was really funny because when we were waiting for the prize ceremony, I was standing there with Adam Peterman, who was the third man, and my coach. And then to me, like a strange guy walked up. Like, I think the others knew who he was, but to me, it was a strange guy and looked at me and was like, "So, Rosanna, are you running?" And I was like, "Well, obviously at the moment I'm not running. What are you asking me?" And so I said, like, "What do you mean?" And he was like, "Yeah, my name is Craig, and I'm from Western States, and you won a golden ticket." And I was like, "How did I win a golden ticket?" He was like, "Yeah, well, the podium of CCC gets a golden ticket." And then everyone around me just started laughing and was like, "Did you not know?" And I was like, "No, I didn't." And then Adam said, "That's the only reason I did CCC." And I was like, "Okay." So Craig looks at me again. "So are you running?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I have no idea what's like. I have to check with my coach." My coach already had his phone out and was like, "Yeah, we can do that." And I was like, "How? Like, when do I have to tell you?" And he was like, "In 2 weeks." And I was like, "Okay, I kind of need to." I didn't know that I have to check. I didn't know that I have the possibility to go to the United States to race like the biggest race there.
That is fantastic. I love this. Because yeah, here in the US, these golden ticket races are like such a big deal, because trying to get into into Western States is so extremely hard with the lottery, and so elites obviously trying to get in through golden ticket races, and so there's a huge conversation around who races what golden ticket event where, and what are the chances of them making it. So for you, getting a golden ticket and not even sort of having this on your radar is incredible. I love it. So well, it's been 2 weeks, so is the official decision made?
Yes, it's actually when I then kind of realized what happened and I was back home, I was like, this is just perfect. Because I was like, what am I going to do now? Like CCC went really well. What's like the next big challenge? And then I was like watching a lot of videos, talked to a lot of other athletes who did race Western States already. I mean, I read books about it, so I knew what was like the story behind, but I didn't really get into the race story yet. And then I was talking to my coach, and I was talking also to my physio because I had quite some problems with my foot. So I was like, am I going to destroy my body if I run like a flattish 100 miler as my first 100 miler? Because I never did race 100 miles. And they both said, we can do it if we start preparing now on and like focus on the training and like diversify the training. And then I was like, okay, I'm just going to write the email. I'm going for it.
Amazing. Amazing. So this is, well, congratulations. It's going to be amazing. I'm going to have to check my calendar and see if I can make it down
Yes.
to Western States. It would be incredible seeing you race down there. Um, Western States is very different. And I talked with Hannes about it, because it comes up with European races. Obviously, you know what Western States is as race, but especially if you regularly run in the Alps, the focus usually is mountain running, and Western States is net downhill, fairly runnable, right? Nobody uses poles for Western States. You have to deal with the heat. You can have pacers, especially as a lead runner, right? I mean, it would be one thing if you would approach this as a vacation race, right? And you just like, hey, I'm just gonna go out and experience this, and I just like, I don't know, I don't need a crew. I'm just gonna take care of the agency. But you're an elite, right? You're sort of the expectations are going to be all of Germany is going to watch you run Western States, right? So you know that you have to perform, which means you have to also play the game of how Western States is played. And Western States, from a crewing point of view, from a support point of view, is very different to all the US races. Have you kind of thought about this already a little bit?
I vaguely started planning, but I think that's going to be the biggest challenge because, for one, I think the race and I do not match at all. I am not a runner. I'm a mountain person. I'm good in like steep uphills. I'm good in like rocky technical downhills. I'm very good with my poles, and all of that I cannot use. I'm not good in running flat, and I'm not good in running the whole time. I'm like a speed hiker. So this is a challenge I love to take on because, like, yeah, just do a new training and see what I can do. I know that it's like the cards are not the best for me at the moment, but I will give my best. And the crew, I don't know. I'll just think it will work because my brother already said he's coming. So that's like for my mind, super important. I'm already talking to some of my friends as pacers. Yeah, I will make it work, and I try to get as many insights as possible, also from people who raced already, and maybe get some support there. I try to fly over there earlier, at least 2 weeks earlier, so I can also train there a little bit. Maybe I just found out there's like a course check in the end of May, so maybe I can fly even earlier. But that's also I have to like speak to my sponsors about like the support package. How big is it gonna be? Like how much are they also paying for my crew? So that's why I said it's been a lot since CCC, like negotiating, planning, and also in between all that, there's like the whole training you have to do. And I'm also going in 3 weeks. I'm still going to Bhutan for like my first super high mountain experience. So there's so much going on, and it's so exciting. Yeah. So I will figure the whole crew thing out, I hope.
Oh my gosh. No, it does sound a lot, but you approaching it right. And I mean, I think it's going to be interesting to see not how well you are doing, but how much you enjoy that American racing experience, just because it is so different. The aid stations are different. The support at the aid stations, and you know how much crews can support you, and having paces and stuff, it's going to be a very different experience, and I'm very curious to see how much you're going to enjoy it, because I think on the highest levels, elites love racing, obviously both on both circuits, if you will, right, and experiencing it both, right. But there is clearly a big adjustment, and it's going to be interesting to see how much you can enjoy it too, just because it is so different. Well, if you need additional crew, let me know. Maybe I can come down and like be like crew driver or something like that or so,
Yeah.
right?
No, thank you, because I think that's also what I'm hoping for, that I just then might get some offers on like small things. And I don't know, I'm quite confident on this because I've been traveling a lot in my life, and it's always been very funny because my friends and family always made fun how naive I approach things. Like I just go there and see, and I think that helped me a lot, and I think it's gonna help me also in Western States, that I'm just going for the experience and I'm gonna raise my best, and everything else will work out.
Yeah, fantastic. No, that sounds super exciting. Very much looking forward to that. Now you're getting ready to go to Bhutan, snowman race, right?
Yes, yes.
Very exciting. So you're in contact with Thomas. Is he coming out there? Thomas Reis? Is he? I think he's coordinated snowman race in the past. I don't know if he's doing out there. Tell me a little bit. How did you get connected with that event?
I am not so sure how because they contacted me. I just wanted to go to Bhutan forever. So in 2023, I spent all my podcasts and interviews on telling everyone I want to go to Bhutan to snowman race. So maybe that's how they found out.
Nice. I like it.
And then they sent me an invitation in April, and we had some calls on like my motivation and why I would want to go there and their expectations. And in May, we signed the contract that I'm going to be there.
Fantastic.
And I think it's going to be one of the biggest challenges in my life because it's more like an expedition and 5 day stage race. I think it's nothing comparable to any European race I did. And I will see how much of racing it can be because I've never been that high in altitude. So I have to be very careful with my body, with my mind, and lasting 5 days. I don't want to, because there's a super high dropout rate, over 50%. So I don't want to be dropping out. I want to make the 5 days.
Yeah. No, I think it is a super complicated challenge logistically and everything, right? Preparing your body for the altitude and food and the stage sort of racing and stuff, right? And sort of finding a way of sort of functioning through so many days. I've talked to a couple people who've done it, and they speak about how absolutely challenging it is. But if you go in with that mindset that it's perhaps not just a race where you're not just blowing yourself up, right? But where you're going in as an expedition, the way you say it, right? And
Yeah.
I think then you're already setting your sights on the longer journey and not the, competition each day ahead of you, right? Which I think is
Yes. Yes.
the way to approach it. I like
And
it.
also to experience the culture. I think what I read and what I hear from like the first interviews we have online now, it's going to be such an amazing place, and they're going to be so different compared to the US and to Europe, how they approach like their happiness, their economic side, the tourism side. It's so different, and I hope that I have the capacity next to all the racing and the hard stuff for my body to engage in the culture and to see how the people live there.
Hmm. Yeah. Where it is sort of that's then more that vacation race kind of mentality where you're not going because you want a place or something, but you're going for the adventure and the experience. It's great to hear that you running on this elite level still have the opportunity to do that, the freedom, the mindset, right? Both from your sponsors and also from your training point of view, right? That it can still fit in
Yes.
with what you're doing. It's great.
Yeah. And I really hope I can, or I'm pretty sure I'm going to take a lot home.
Amazing. And then by the time you come home, then you're probably looking at snow in the mountains. And then for a while, probably skis before you can even see trails again, right?
Yes, and that's going to be the different approach we're going to take this year. Like the last 2 winters, we focused a lot on ski mountaineering for training because it was very helpful on preparing the European races. But this year, I think I'm going to change it totally. I'm going to do still a lot of skiing, but in early spring, when I usually still skied and it was usually a lot of snow, I think I might like travel for training camps to Italy or wherever there's
Mhm.
no snow, but which is close by, because I just have to run more in order to make it to Western states.
Yeah. And if you have the ability to acclimate your body, I mean, I ran canyons 2 years ago in April, and the Pacific Northwest was all super cold still too. And I didn't have a lot of time to go beforehand. So I did like sauna training and stuff. And it was
Mm-hmm.
totally helpful because on race day it was approaching 90 degrees Fahrenheit, which I don't know what that is in Celsius, 32, 33 or something like that, right? I mean, so hot that where I was, I would have, if I wouldn't have sort of tried to do some specific training towards that, I would have melted.
Yeah, yeah. So I also think I will go to Italy and run in the hottest time of the day, and everyone will think I'm crazy, but adapting.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. No, no, trust me, this is for an important cause.
Yeah, because they're like, why do you run around at 12 or in the burning sun? Why don't you go in the evening? Yep, exactly for that reason.
Exactly for that. Well, amazing. One last question I have for you. Um, I've sort of experienced Chamonix in all of its madness, for the very first time. How is it for you as somebody who goes there regularly? Do you feel like um, it is still the heart of trail running? It still represents trail running. There's so many conversations around how it gets too media hyped, how it gets too manufactured. I didn't experience it in that way. I loved every minute of it. But for you, as somebody who has seen it now year over year and somebody who is sort of has all of these sponsor obligations and stuff, do you still find this is trail running, or do you think this is starting to become plastic, too complicated?
No, I think it's very much still trail running, especially on race day on the track, and also beforehand. I feel I really love it. I mean, I think the organization, they did a lot of things better this year than the last years. So they took more time in between elite presentation and race day. They did much better in like the collection, and then like I felt I still have time to go to Chamonix for a nice coffee, and then it's cool because it's a nice cafe and you kind of see a lot of like famous trail runners in the world of trail running. But since it's UTMB week, it's kind of normal, so everyone is there, and I love it. And I also love doing this short recovery runs before, because like you meet someone everywhere who's running, and then it's no matter if they're racing or not, if they lead or not, it's just like this um yeah, you friendly hello from everyone, because everyone kind of knows it's UTMB week. Sometimes they check like if you already have your bracelet on or not. So I feel like it's still a wonderful race and a really nice week. I also go there for the days before, not just for the race, because I think it's so special.
Yeah, it's great to hear for somebody who races all over Europe and has seen this sort of develop, because my experience, it just it blew me away when the PTL runners came in, or TDS runners came in, right? And they have folks, volunteers with bells, and they're cheering them in because they're coming the opposite direction, right? And my finish is like 1085th as OCC, right? I mean, people were still cheering every stretch of the way, right? I mean, it's like I feel like that still represents the best of trail running, which is we are celebrating everyone's achievement and everybody's sort of being out there. And it's great to hear that you sort of on this different level and this historical sort of perspective can still feel it and appreciate it in that way, because yeah, I think there are a lot of people who question what UTMB is doing, and UTMB is sort of at the pinnacle of what our sport is, and they're pushing things forward every year, so they are certainly under the microscope. People are certainly watching what they're
Mm-hmm.
doing, right? the way I
Yeah.
ex- the way I experience is that Chamonix becomes an arena, right? It
Yeah.
becomes almost like this place where for 1 week everything is UTMB, and wherever you are, you sort of connected with and in touch. And yeah, you can disappear on the trail by yourself if you go the opposite direction, right? And you don't see a lot of people, right? But it is such an incredible place, as you say, just drinking iced coffee and still being part of all of this.
Yes. And I think that's cool because it's not often in our sports that everyone or all the elites come together. A lot of times it's so spread out. So I feel like it's very special, and I hope it's like continuing to grow and still keeping the energy.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, that was a fantastic experience for me. I already am scheming how to get back there next year.
Cool.
I don't know if I'm gonna race it again. I mean, obviously that's lottery dependent, but it was a lot to sort of try to race and do media at the same time.
Mm,
But I knew somebody asked me if I could choose and only do one thing, if I wanted to race or do media, I'm like, well, if I would only do media, I would absolutely feel left out. You have to experience the race once.
Mm-hmm.
Now maybe I would do just media once and sort of being able to see the bigger picture, but the race is very special, so you end up wanting to come
Yeah,
back to the
yeah,
start line, right?
yeah. I feel like that so many people, no matter if it's OCC, CCC, UTMB, and no matter what rank you finish in, so many people say like, I want to come back for that experience, and I think that's the best what you can do as a race organizer.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's a great way of sort of like um, buttoning it up, right? That the people who actually experience the event, they do want to come back, right? They have a great
Mm-hmm.
experience. So yeah, this is fantastic. How do I get back? I raced with my coach's wife. My coach has raced UTMB 3, 4 times, UTMB and TDS, I think, and she has never raced it before. And she raced OCC for the first time, and my coach had to stand on the sideline and just support, and it was pretty much killing him. He's like, I need to race this thing. I can't just be support. And she was like, for once, I'm not with the kids. For once, I'm get to enjoy and actually race myself. She very much
Yes,
enjoyed it.
yeah, cool, very cool.
Yeah, super cool. Rosanna, thank you so much. I've had you multiple times on. People know where they can reach you. We put links in show notes. Very
Great,
much gonna follow your snowman adventure. And then, well, we need to check in and see how your training in progress goes for Western States. Do keep me in the loop if you have any question. I mean, I've not been down for Western States, but when it comes to general, like, how do we make America work? I'm happy to sort of bounce ideas off of you and stuff if you need
cool.
anything.
Thank you so much. That's, yeah, very nice and helpful.